Okay, this video is to give a little bit of a storyline to support the GoFundMe on behalf of myself and my son that is currently in Beaumont, Texas, which is a Jefferson County. Okay, I don't know if y'all can hear that bumping, but we're not going to get into that right now. So, my son and myself, we are targeted individuals, and I'm in the process of filing this racketeering sub rosa for this organized community harassment, but it's beyond that. Okay, this is even involving police. Okay, basically, they can put you on a blacklist if, you're in a location where people know people, then do favors, and you all know how this goes. And so I have a lot of content on my YouTube platform. I am sharing my story if you want to hear more about that. But we are currently trying to leave the state of Texas. Okay, but not before filing. I feel like it is important that I do file because this trail needs to follow me, that this has been happening. So in the state of Texas, it's not the only place. This has been happening definitely since Nevada, Las Vegas, Nevada, to Silsbee, Texas, and Beaumont, Texas. Now, in my story, the way this goes is this. I uprooted my life to get away from a lot of abuse and toxicity, toxic family, toxic exes. I didn't have much choice. I had sought out support and help only to no avail. It always turned out that I would end up getting further betrayed, some more shenanigans. And so I just decided that I just needed to attempt to get away if I could. I put paperwork information online. I went to an agency to basically apply for housing throughout the U.S. Now, technically, I did apply for both myself and my son. So I'm not really sure what happened with that, but essentially, the reason why Silsbee, Texas even happened is because they were the only ones to, become available when I needed to move. Okay. And we did that. We had nothing and we had no one. We left so much behind. It was a 3-day bus trip. My son wasn't feeling well. We were harassed on the bus. It was just a crazy story. We arrived, the first landlord was a slumlord that was all too in a hurry to assist us to get there. And I didn't know, I hadn't had a chance to like go to the place and see it or anything like that. I decided to go with that person because they seemed to be the ones willing to be very, very helpful. And technically, my son and myself did not leave Nevada, Las Vegas, Nevada, until March of 2022. And the landlord really pushed moving forward and kind of saying that, he knew how the system went. He was okay with, getting it started, even though I communicated that I wasn't going to be able to get there. I didn't have the money for the utilities, deposits, and, pay rents because I was saving to move. And lo and behold, to try to make it a little bit shorter, we arrive and he picks us up from the bus station. And I'd already communicated in advance that we didn't have any furniture, we didn't have anything. And he said, oh, we might be able to do something. And I said, oh, okay. Once again, reinforcing why I decided to just go with it. Then we enter, and the furniture looked like he had pulled it. It was raining, by the way, by the time we got out there, but like it had been pulled off from the side of the road. It was wet and stinky, and but the whole floors, all of the floors were like hard ceramic tile flooring. So, and then he had a little storage area. The place was like a converted garage, barnyard, or something. And on the side of it, he had all of this old stuff over there. He said that I can look at. And You know, it was a bed, looked like it had pee on it, looked like it was a bed bugs, all sorts of stuff. But again, you know, I didn't have anything. I was starting over from scratch. I was trying to get my son set up and trying to see, you know, what I can do and get familiar with where we were and what my options were for me. And, you know, there was just a lot on my mind with that. And in that situation, we began to get ill right away. The neighbor offered to take us, to get a few things and to get us a meal. And me and my son both got very sick immediately. Okay. And after that, you know, the water was brown. It was just one thing and another. We started having all sorts of attacks, feeling like things were crawling on us, crazy dreams, and just very weird things starting to happen, and altercations with the landlord, the owner. And eventually someone put a snake, it looks like it was possibly a black rattlesnake, in the front of the door. And I thought to myself, what if it was my son that I went to the door and just went outside? Luckily, it was me. Okay. And I shut the door right away. I'm not going to go into the full details because I don't want this video to be that long. Okay. But it had been nothing but problems and nothing but issues since we arrived in Texas. Silsbee, Texas doesn't have public transportation. The Uber system, you have to just look up to catch one. Okay. They don't have anything there outside of a Walmart and a grocery store. And that's it. The park is trash. They don't have a theater. They don't have anything. So it was essentially something set up to where we were supposed to just basically go there and vegetate and die, get poisoned due to toxins and, you know, being exposed to certain things and not having any resources and having people be unnecessarily crude, mean, having people make mountains out of molehills and make things to be more complicated than they needed to be. And that's what we experienced with each landlord, okay, through Beaumont Housing Authority, okay, because all of this was done through Beaumont Housing Authority. Now, throughout, you know, I was attempting to get them in better places, and so I found a better place in Silsbee, and once again, it was the same type of things. And I experienced a lot there. People, you know, trying to come in the door without permission, getting caught on camera, people following us around, tricking us to sign stuff, then refusing to work with us when my son's psychiatrist had already mentioned that it would have been better for him. He listed why it was better for him to have moved to Beaumont. You name it. I ended up dating somebody that I believe was a handler that they basically just sent for me, because the way I met him is I was at my son's unit one morning. This was early morning, and he was sitting on the stairs of where my son lived. And I did not go up to him. I was so far past trying to even deal too closely with people. So I was just trying to figure out that day how to get some more things that my son needed. And so I just walked downstairs, you know, doing what I was trying to do. And this guy, which was the brother of one of my son's neighbors, my son was sandwiched between two people that I believe were handlers or in on whatever this toxic organized harassment stuff is. So, you know, he came up to me and we exchanged. He asked me if I was single, blah, 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 which I do regret this, you know, but I was human. I was trying to be open. He had approached me. And I wanted to, that was my last little shot of wanting to believe that maybe there is still good in the world. Like maybe all humans don't have ulterior motives or not looking for who they can come up off of or take advantage of or mistreat or whatever. So come to find out, he had dealings with the manager himself, okay, of that particular apartment complex, and the manager and his sister. So I kind of caught over time these different ones kind of lingering about and talking a little longer than normal. Okay. And so come to find out, they had dealings. Also come to find out his baby's mom is like in property management or some type of a manager or of sorts. Okay. And now this is Southeast Texas and all this place, everything is pretty much small and everybody knows everybody. And a lot of these people have been in these fields and industries and these places for many, many years. Okay. So, and come to find out as time went on that they had been dealings with the relatives in which I was trying to get away from, which is in real estate. Now you're all catching it yet, which is in the mortgage and real estate industry. And that person travels the US, but resides in Las Vegas, Nevada. Okay. So all this to say, everything became a problem. Everything became a challenge, from Southeast Texas transportation to Aaron's rentals to going to restaurants. There's been several times me and my son gotten sick. People was attempting to poison us, putting things on the door. I can go on and on, parking their vehicle in front of my son's unit with just sitting in there all night long. And on and on and on. They, I'll just say it this way. My ex created a fallout on Christmas of 2023. In my opinion, all of this was orchestrated. Okay, because when you're trying to destroy someone's spirit, when you're trying to break someone down, when you're trying to be really, really brutal and cold and cruel, that's how you do it. That's a narcissistic trait. Narcissists are always going to do something to betray or break the heart of a person on a special day. Okay, so I believe he was being coached. I believe that it was his sister and the manager, as well as whoever else was all involved with all of that. Okay. His sister is manager and his baby mama, the sister, the manager, and his baby mama, I believe, amongst other people. I also believe he had a double life and that, those were factors, other things sexually he could have been doing that I wasn't privy to. So that opened up the door for them to be able to surveillance me, using him as an inside track to get inside my son's apartment, to figure out things about me, to see what was there. I eventually was able to find a home office job and utilize my son's apartment for that, because technically I am homeless. Okay, and I'd already started figuring out that I couldn't trust. I caught on kind of quick that I couldn't really trust people. And so when I found anybody nice enough and kind enough, I really kept their names and information out of anything that I do. And I was very strategic in how I even dealt with them. So I spend majority nights with my son, which I can, but there, then the nights that I don't, like maybe 2 nights of the week, it's with 2 different people, simply just to sleep. Outside of that, I do have a gym membership. It's 24 hours, so I do go there, but I have to sneak around because where my son resides, which is Delta Manor, there are several residents as well as staff, as well as friends and family of residents that are following me around in the complex. They're doing the same thing in Delta Manor's parking lot. Anything that I ever do on the property, they're always sending somebody there doing weird things. Today, I had a very odd experience with going to the bathroom and locking the door. And the manager, I feel like a street theater, got all upset, like, and it's recorded. I have this on a recording. All upset about that, like it was a big, like I broke some kind of law. They knocked on the door. I was like, give me a moment. It wasn't a long wait. Okay. I don't know what they are afraid of with me locking the door. That's what I'm saying. What's wrong with these people? What are they scared I'm gonna do? You know? But it's synchronized because it's always like at the moment. I picked up pattern recognition when people start moving. If I move this way, then they move that way. If I go here, then it's almost like they get pinged and then here comes somebody. Okay. Now I believe that they even selected this unit strategically because how he got into Delta Manor. First, it was supposed to be a different unit. Then they made it like it was having all these difficulties and issues and something wasn't ready. And they just, every single time there is a big deal, there's some kind of issue. Okay? That shouldn't be, it's unnatural. Okay? And I believe that, again, because they all communicate, and when you go from one location to the other, they all want, the rental history and, with Beaumont Housing Authority, and they're all connected. You get it? So I believe that this was vengeance. Go ahead and put them, up under somebody that was fucking her ex. Or, you know what I'm saying, a friend of, that kind of childish, juvenile, basically one of their paid actors. Okay, go ahead. And then this unit used to be a unit of someone that was a cop. How do I know? Because of the mail that comes in my son's box. Now, and there is also a cop dealing in buildings 4, 5, I want to say 5, 6, and 7, I can say for sure. Okay. And I've had very interesting encounters. I also believe, I have reason to believe that she too is involved. Okay. She's possibly how I got put on a watch list illegally to begin with. Okay. I'm not saying that for sure. It can be somebody else because my son's first landlord has been in the business for 30 years in Lumberton, Texas, and he may very well have connections to that as well. Now, add to the fact that I used to date someone when I was younger that ended up being famous. He was professional when we dated, and I got into some things with him. I was about 18, 19 years old. And I took the fall for him and his group of people that was doing what they were doing. And it changed the trajectory of my life. I didn't get any support for it. I didn't get any, high-ranking lawyer. I didn't get any monies or anything like that. I just basically took the fall. So I have reason to believe that they too may be involved in something because, again, I think that people didn't believe or think I would live this long or that I would end up creating some of the things that I create. And, these people, I feel like, tried to sacrifice me and my son, scapegoat us, or are concerned about their reputations and things of that nature should, the truths about what they were involved with regarding me or my son were to come out. Okay. On top of my relatives that have been jealous, my older sister specifically, that I thought was my older sister, she played a major role in this. I'm not going to get too much deep into that in Nevada, but yeah, she essentially took some kind of deal and wanted my essence, wanted to be me, wanted me out the way. So I strongly, her hand is definitely her and the one I thought was my mother. Okay. So we have that. Now, I have not been able to confirm, so I have to say it in a certain way regarding who my actual father is. Okay, my actual parents. But I do have some reason to believe that I have my actual father is also someone famous, and he was a boxer. Okay. And so I think they're linked together, me dating the boxer and my father being a boxer. And I think that there's some nefarious dealings, because in order to organize something like this on a large scale, you do have to have money. You got to have muscle and money in order to invest in something like that, as well as, being put on the blacklist with the, government, with the police, because they have fundings for it. So this is how they can hire all of these paid actors, from crackheads, dope addicts, people in public housing, different things like that. That'll take a deal in a New York minute. Okay. So needless to say, me and my son cannot live the life that we deserve to live, which is free of harassment, free to move around and not be concerned about who's trying to poison him, or I should be able to take him to a restaurant and not have to be overly concerned and make sure I get this and that because of some lunatic. Should I say several criminally insane individuals? Okay, I shouldn't have to worry about that. I shouldn't have to sneak, because basically I have to sneak around everything, because I don't know what kind of mental illness level these people are on. And the two individuals that thus far has been nice to me this entire, I shouldn't say this entire time, once I met them, which was a strategic reason why I wanted Delta Manor, why I was kind of hell-bent on trying to get my son there to begin with, was because of the proximity to his doctors and the proximities to all of these various like stores and stuff that we can get to relatively quickly. On top of, there's two individuals that they're not in apartment complexes, thank God. There's two individuals that is kind enough, but they're not paying my way. I don't get to sit up and lay up and bring my stuff there. I don't get to do, it's not like that. They don't want a resident. So I get to sleep, and between each of them a couple times, a couple nights, because most times I'm here with my son, but I can't live here either. So I have to be, when I'm at these other two places, I have to basically sleep and be up like the crack of dawn, like, and to come my ass right, back to my son's place and doing the things that I'm doing for him every day. But I got to sneak, because there's people every time I move. I'm not going to give away one of the ways I'm able to do that, because then I'm giving it away. But I have to basically do that. That's not the way we don't deserve to have to live like that. Those two people don't want no shade, no drama, no problems. And I can't blame them. Okay, they don't want no weirdness and people, showing up and driving and circling around there, and they don't want nothing to do with none of that. And I don't blame them. People trying to live their lives, they don't want no problems. So I've been very, very cautious and careful with that. And again, I reported my son's upstairs neighbor, because I see the games that they're playing with me. They're trying to get me caught up. They're trying to antagonize and provoke me into acting out and doing something so that they can then claim, oh my God, she's I know this game. So I'm like, we're not going to do it. I also don't want to feed these individuals. I don't want to feed them energy. So I'm like, well, I'm just going to do things officially, even though I believe that, the management is involved. And I've recorded the things that's happening here because, again, no one ever wants to believe you. It's going to always be said that you are exaggerating and it didn't happen like that and you just stressed out. So I'm like, we're not going to play that game. We're just not. And I report via email. I did this several times, confirming with her that this person hadn't stopped. And in fact, they continued to do it after the quiet hours. So management said that, oh, okay, well, she will give a violation for, because you're supposed to not be doing that past a certain hours. And it's within reason, the kind of noise, even during the hours. And I believe that that was simply to appease me. And the reason why I believe that was simply to appease me is because the tenant continued to do it. So it's either one of two things. She never discussed this with that tenant. She just told that to me to appease me. Or they're all in on it. And that's why the tenant is comfortable with continuing to do it, because there's nobody, and this person is said to have an autistic son. There's nobody that's wanting to possibly get more and more violations leading up to an eviction just for being a prick, just for, continuing to disturb the peace. So my son's lease is up in February 2026. However, if we can get out of here sooner, because I'm really wanting to just let it all go. I don't even want no traces. I don't want to have to use his information or mine and connecting it with them, if possible. Now, I may have to, but the point that I'm making is we need to be able to get out of here. So the GoFundMe, I'm trying to raise $100,000. And this $100,000, I know it sounds like a lot, but the reason why I'm going there is so that we can get reestablished somewhere, to pay for any legal fees that may come up, to pay for moving, which my son desires to live in Long Beach, California. And so I'm going to see if we can find something in Long Beach, California. And, so definitely West Coast, okay? But that's a lot of money. So I want to pay for a mover so that that's not something that here I have to do, okay? They can get the stuff in the truck and drive it to Long Beach, all of that, and to get us situated and set up, and the little things that we need to give us space and time to get settled and figure out our way. Because this has been definitely traumatic, and it's been one traumatic event after the other. He has been assaulted in so many ways and violated. These people didn't care. They didn't care. And when I saw that coldness, that, that technical coldness BS that they tried to pull on me, I realized like something is off about this place. Something is off about this situation. And I don't deserve it, but my son certainly don't deserve it. He has been robbed enough, and I have been robbed enough. And it's sickening that the government would want to play with us as some kind of experiment, like we don't matter. And I have a problem with that, and I will get justice on that one way or the other. It's sickening that, relatives with mental illness and famous individuals that are sociopathic and worried about their money, lacking empathy and wanting to just do away with my son and me. Oh, let's just torture them and then put them in a mental institution, and we'll just have her son and we'll have his money and have him in a bed, and she'll be locked up, and so technically we didn't kill him. And you know what I'm saying? It's sickening. There's nothing wrong with me. We may be stressed out. We may have PTSD or CPTSD, but that's not the mental illness that folks need to be concerned with. What needs to come under a light is the mental illness of distorted, corrupt officials, governments, businesses, leaders, elites, trash bag relatives, and thug bones and catastrophe motherfuckers that's willing to do anything for a buck, a fuck, a taco, and a truck. To innocent lives, because my son and me are innocent. We're not criminals. We're not fugitives. We're not criminals. We're not fugitives. We're not terrorists. In fact, we're being terrorized by corruption. So please, if you see this video, click on, I will be putting the link in the GoFundMe page. If you're feeling guided, please, anything helps, okay? It's also, I'm using this as a portal for people who feel like they owe me. Well, there's your link to deposit money so that I can get my son, me and my son, out of this dangerous situation here, because it is. Our life is at stake. I don't know what kind of shit they didn't put in this apartment. I'm just keeping it real, because there's been too many incidences with each unit he's had. I don't know what kind of shit is up in here. I've already had weird things happening. I don't know what the fuck they didn't put in the water, in the plumbing, in the vents. I don't know what kind of fucking illegal ass cameras are up in here. I don't know, because see, they use chemtrails. They do so many things to try to constrict you so that they can poison you, so they could get you sick. So they're combining all of these tactics, the stalking, the passive aggressive, shit, the unnecessary hurdles and obstacles, mountains out of molehills, exposure to toxic elements, all with the hopes of deteriorating. I'd become pretty stable. Like I said, I'd found an office job, which the ex knew about, which then it spread, which, you see that? They ended up infiltrating Tivoli. That's the name of the company, is Tivoli. They used to be known as Commercial Insurance Center. And I believe that a lot of covens, cults, and even government are starting to exploit these home office, telephone type jobs to access energy, to access and locate light ones. So I got sabotaged there, dealing with a different ex of mine and some relatives, and there's leadership that was there that was corrupt, and they showed their face. It worked in my favor. My guides, assisted me in a way to break patterns of history, but also to come out in my favor because of the shady, slick way they try to go about shit. Things have been stolen from me and my son. Homes, money. Once again, this is all an attempt to keep us destabilized, so it'll force us into certain arenas. So I have a desire to be done altogether with anything to do with housing authority in any state, anything to do with any government program. in a sense of the government programs that, to do with your housing and anything like that. I want nothing to do with it, and I also want nothing to do with apartment complexes in general. So my desire and intention is to be done with that and to get a house for my son, a home, a house paid in full. I know that's not what I'm asking for here, but that's my long-term range and my long-term goal. I'm hoping that with this RICO case, by the time it's finished, that these are some of the things that I'm going to be asking the courts for, the government, the United States for the pain and the suffering and the injustices and all of the losses done to myself and my son due to this constant harassment, following around, intrusion, identity theft, all of the various things that they've been doing. Meanwhile, I do want to get us out of Texas. But I want to file first so that way, as we land wherever we land, I can submit that paperwork to wherever we land, and this can be put on alert. Okay, so please do support. If you share the link, anything helps. And if you want to know more about the story, you can go to my YouTube channel and my TikTok platform. I have videos there, and you can hear different stories that I share, because I am being more open and out with it, because we're harassed every day. And I decided that if I'm going to be targeted and harassed either way, if me and my son are going to be attacked, targeted, and harassed no matter what, I might as well go public. So that's the reasoning behind that. Okay, thank you so much. And for any help and support, we definitely would be most grateful and thankful.